moves in without a sound. The road looks tired, then turns mild. The frost is leaving fence by fence. A silver drip runs down the bricks. A bus goes by with sleepy lights. A scarf slips loose around my neck. The trees are bare but not for long. They hold a secret in their hands. The air is cool though not severe. It feels like waiting can be warm. I pass a shop with fogged up glass. A chair inside is lit by gold. The day has not begun to shine, but still it asks me to come close. Something quiet starts to rise. Not a fire, more a sign. When the pavement softens under me, I hear the season change its mind. Not with thunder, not with drama, just a tender shift in light. I let the morning find my name. I do not rush, I do not hide. March is small but full of mercy, and it opens from inside. A paper cup warms both my hands. Steam lifts slow into the gray. Two schoolgirls laugh beneath the bridge. Their voices float then fade away. A little wind moves through the lane and lifts the corners of old signs. The city looks half asleep, yet every window keeps a pulse. I used to want a brighter proof, a sudden answer from the sky. Now I can trust a softer thing, the kind that grows without a sound. What returns does not arrive. All at once, a rolling bloom. When the pavement softens under me, I hear the season change its mind. Not with thunder, not with drama, just a tender shift in light. I let the morning find my name. I do not rush, I do not hide. March is small but full of mercy, and it opens from inside. Step by step the thought comes through. Stone by stone the cold gets loose. Step by step the thought comes through. A quiet world can still renew. When the pavement softens under me, I know my heart can do the same. After all the hard and silent days, gentleness returns again. Not every change must shine a light. Some changes breathe and stay nearby. March is small but full of mercy, and it opens from inside. The street grows kind. Sky appears in broken lines. It waits above the naked trees. There is a color after rain that does not ask to be admired. It settles in the highest parts, between the branches and the wires. A rooftop rooftop holds the final drops. They fall in time with distant wheels. Someone is sweeping at the door of a cafe not open yet. The smell of bread, the sound of keys. A flower stands still tied with rope. The day is plain, the day is true. That is the reason I believe. No grand return, no painted scene, just blue between the branches there. Small clear things can lead me back. I was colder than I knew. Blue between branches, stay with me. Hang above this restless town. Teach my thoughts to move like daylight, slowly laying shadows down. I have lived through heavy weather. I have worn a winter face. Now a thinner, kinder heaven finds a little room for grace. A cyclist passes with red gloves. A dog pulls softly at the leash. The river carries bits of sun like coins that no one thinks to keep. I cross the bridge and feel the wind. It brings the wet earth from the park. The benches still are cold to touch, but not as cold as weeks before. I used to think my heart would wake only if a bright sign broke the dark. Now I can love a gentler proof, a softer edge, a lifted cloud. Maybe healing does not speak. Maybe it is only seen. Blue between branches, stay with me. Hang above this restless town. Teach my thoughts to move like daylight, slowly laying shadows down. I have lived through heavy weather. I have worn a winter face. Now a thinner, kinder heaven finds a little room for grace. Lift, lift, winter sky. Make a narrow door of light. Lift, lift, winter sky. Let the day come through in stripes. Lift, lift, winter sky. Blue between branches, stay with me. Even when the hours turn plain, I do not need a field of flowers to believe in change again. There is enough inside this color, cool and clear above the street. A quiet sky can mend the spirit without asking to be seen. The trees are still bare. The blue is enough. Today I left the heavy coat behind. The closet gave me lighter cloth. I touched the sleeve and almost smiled. Not because the spring was here, but because the air allowed a chance. The alley smelled of dampened stone. A motor hummed beyond the block. An old man read outside the store, with sunlight leaning on his shoes. A child drew circles in the dust where frozen water used to stand. The season did not change at once. It loosened one small thing at first. I felt it in the way I breathe, in how my shoulders dropped with ease. There are days that do not bloom, they simply let you carry less. In the hour of thin coats I remember, I was not made for endless weight. Even the wind can turn more gentle, even a gray sky can make space. I walk lighter through the afternoon, I leave some winter on the rail. What has hurt me does not vanish, but it does not hold me the same. glass reflects my face. I look less distant than before. A woman shakes a woven rug. Dust turns bright in slanting sun. Someone nearby is tuning strings. The notes come loose through a cracked window. They do not form a song, I know, but still they keep my pace in line. I used to guard each tender part, afraid the air would make it ache. Now I can stand inside this breeze and let it pass without defense. Maybe strength is not a wall, maybe it is breathing free. In the hour of thin coats I remember I was not made for endless weight. Even the wind can turn more gentle. Even a gray sky can make space. I walk lighter through the afternoon. I leave some winter on the rail. What has hurt me does not vanish, but it does not hold me the same. Less to carry, more to feel. Less to prove, more to heal. Less to carry, more to feel. March can turn the hidden wheel. In the hour of thin coats I discover how change arrives without a sound. It does not need a field of color. It starts when fear sets something down. I walk lighter through the afternoon. The day is cool but not severe. What has hurt me does not vanish, yet it no longer lives as near. A lighter sleep, a lighter breath. The day begins in moving gray. The tram doors close with tired grace. A drop runs down beside my hand. Outside the market folds its tarps. A florist wipes a metal stand. The seats are warm from former lives. A child leans close and draws a moon upon the clouded window pane. Before it fades beneath the rain, we pass the church, the narrow bank, the corner where the bread line starts. The city blurs, then comes again in softened reds and silver signs. Nothing is loud, yet all of it keeps touching something deep in me. Rain can turn the world to film. Every face becomes a scene. Rain on the tram window, carry me through these half-lit streets of March. Let the world look tender for a while. Let the edges all grow soft. I have had enough of sharpness. I have held enough of night. Rain on the tram window, carry me where the heart can loosen tight. A woman folds her yellow gloves. A student closes sleepy eyes. The driver hums beneath his breath as if the road has given him a tune. At every stop the air comes in, cool and smelling faintly green. It brings the park, the river wall, the wet bark of awakening trees. I think of all the words I kept because they felt too bare to say. The rain does not explain itself, it only falls and changes things. Perhaps that is enough for now to move and let the view grow kind. Some relief is made of blur, some relief is being held. Rain on the tram window, carry me through these half-lit streets of March. Let the world look tender for a while. Let the edges all grow soft. I have had enough of sharpness. I have held enough of night. Rain on the tram window, carry me where the heart can loosen tight. Street by street the day turns light rain on the tram window, carry me where the heart can loosen tight. City flow, I let it. Hush, garden gate. The branches know what I do not. No blossom yet, no bright result. The hedge is only dark and thin, but something under bark and root has chosen not to sleep again. I touch the rail beside the path. It holds the memory of cold. Beyond the pond, a gardener bends and clears the leaves from winter's corners. The soil is black, the stones are wet. A robin stops, then lifts away. This place is mostly made of pause, yet every pause feels full of stars. I think of all the patient things that grow before the eye agrees. Not every promise shows its face, some are hidden in the stem. Before the buds are seen, I believe. Before the color comes, I stay. There is a kind of hope that lives in what is quiet, not displayed. I do not need the proof this early. I can love the waiting ground. Before the buds are seen, I believe life is already moving now. The bench is damp with morning rain. I do not sit, I stand and look. A gate swings once against the wall. Somewhere nearby a kettle sings. The sky is pearl, the air is spare. A thin sun leans across the path. The garden is not trying hard, it simply holds what comes to pass. I used to think delayed desire was only lost in slower close. Now I can stand beside the beds and trust the work beneath the earth. Things can deepen out of sight. Roots do not need witness first. Before the buds are seen, I believe. Before the color comes, I stay. There is a kind of hope that lives in what is quiet, not displayed. I do not need the proof this early. I can love the waiting ground. Before the buds are seen, I believe life is already moving now. Before the buds are seen, I believe my own heart can begin this way. Not with brightness, not with noise, but with a gentle hidden change. I do not need the proof this early. I can trust what I have found. Before the buds are seen, I believe life is already moving now. through weathered glass. The cafe opens one chair at a time. A cloth moves slow across the wood. A radio breathes a distant song. Too low to name, too warm to miss. Outside, the road is rinsed with rain. Inside, the spoons make tender sounds. A clouded sun rests on the floor like milk poured thin across the tiles. I wrap both hands around the cup. The heat is on as plain and small. A woman writes near the window seat. A page turns over with no haze. This room does not pretend to cure. It only lets the hour be soft. Sometimes peace is not a place. It is the way light touches steam. A cup of clouded sun before me. That is enough for now. No grand answer in the weather, just a calmer kind of day. I can sit beside my thoughts without asking them to leave. A cup of clouded sun before me, and the world becomes more clear. The doorbell rings, then settles down. Two wet umbrellas lean and shine. The barista hums a simple line while drawing milk into a leaf. I watch the window blur and clear. I watch a pigeon cross the curb. The smallest things begin to speak when life grows slower in the hands. I have been searching for relief in brighter, louder forms than this. But here the table, cup and rain all join to tell me I can stay. Nothing asks me to perform. Nothing asks me to be new. A cup of clouded sun before me. That is enough for now. No grand answer in the weather, just a calmer kind of day. I can sit beside my thoughts without asking them to leave. A cup of clouded sun before me, and the world becomes more clear. Steam will rise, rain will cease. Little rooms can carry peace. Steam will rise, rain will cease. Gentle hours teach release. A cup of clouded sun before me, and I feel my breathing slow. Not every healing comes in color. Some arrive in muted gold. I can sit beside my life and let it rest without a name. A cup of clouded sun before me, and my heart grows mild again. The cup grows light. The room stays warm. Cold water, dry light. The river moves before I speak. All winter long it wore a face of metal gray and silent force. Today its skin is changing tone. The edge is dark, the middle clear. A gull turns once above the bridge. The rail is wet beneath my hand. The reeds are thin, The path is bare, yet water keeps a softer sound. Two runners pass with open coats. A stroller rolls through patched up light. The clouds are low, the wind is cool, but still the river does not hide. It breaks the last white foams apart and carries them without regret. Maybe living is like this, not a leap but loosened frost. Where the river loses ice, I feel my guarded hours thin. What was fixed begins to travel, what was numb begins to sing. I do not have to bloom by morning, I do not need a sudden sky. Where the river loses ice, I remember how to move. The man in work boots stops to smoke. The ash falls soft against the stones. The far bank holds a line of flats with curtains lifting in the noon. The smell of earth comes through the breeze. A bike bell rings and fades upstream. The water keeps its patient speech, a low reply to all I kept. I used to honor every scar by making stillness into law. Now I can watch the current choose another shape from hour to hour. What has frozen can release without losing what it was. Where the river loses ice, I feel my guarded hours thin. What was fixed begins to travel, what was numb begins to sing. I do not have to bloom by morning, I do not need a sudden sky. Where the river loses ice, I remember how to move. Break and run, water knows what must be done. Break and run, even stillness comes undone. Where the river loses ice, I let my careful silence change. Not to noise, not to chaos, just to something more alive. I do not have to bloom by morning, I can start with one clear line. Where the river loses ice, I remember how to The lamps are still on after dawn. A row of lanterns down the lane burns faintly in the morning mist. They are not needed by the sun, yet no one asks them to go dark. A florist trims the oldest stems. A baker sets the trays outside. The shops unlock their painted doors as if the town were stretching slow. I like these lights at awkward hours, still glowing when the night has gone. They look like small remaining faith that does not fear a changing role. Not every tenderness must lead, some simply stay until it's time. There is beauty in the almost, there is grace in what lingers. Lanterns in daylight hold that glow, not for darkness, just because. Teach my heart to keep by purpose. You shine without a need to prove. Lanterns in daylight, hold that glow. Show me how to gently stay. A silver cart rolls by with cups. A dog waits close beside the wheel. The air is cold but not severe. A coat hangs open in the breeze. The cobblestones are damp and bright. A church bell marks the quiet hour. I think of all the parts of me that stayed awake through darker weeks. Must every faithful thing step down the moment brighter colors come? Perhaps some lights are made to fade with dignity, not with regret. I can leave one season well without leaving all of it. Lanterns in daylight, hold that glow. Not for darkness, just because. Teach my heart to keep its softness when the hardest season lives. I have measured worth by purpose. You shine without a need to prove. Lanterns in daylight, hold that glow. Show me how to gently stay. Still alive, still serene. Not too late, not unseen. Still alive, still serene. Grace can live between the scenes. Lanterns in daylight. Now I know some beauty does not need a reason. It can rest between two climates, half in winter, half in spring. I will keep my tender lessons even when the cold is through. Lanterns in daylight, hold that glow. Show me how to gently stay. The sun grows higher. The lamps shine on. Color returns in quiet ways. Not in the trees, not in the field, not in a sudden burst of bloom. It comes in moss along the wall, behind the alley's rusted gate. Green gathers where the rain has stayed, soft as velvet, low as breath. A place most people pass too fast, holds one of March's clearest truths. Life does not always choose the wide. Sometimes it starts in shade, it seems. The wall is old, the wall is cracked, yet still it lets new color cling. I stand there longer than I should, learning from a humble thing. What survives can still be soft, what is worn can still receive. Moss on the wall, small green answers show me how to grow like that. Close to stone, close to weather, still becoming, still intact. I have wanted brighter openings, larger signs to lead me through. Moss on the wall, small green answer, teach me quiet life is true. A bicycle leans beside the drain. A window opens on the third floor. A woman waters herbs inside. The smell of soap comes down the stair. The alley keeps its modest face, yet every surface holds a shift. Rain has polished every mark, light has found the smallest rise. I think of how I lived through cold, pressed against the needed days. Perhaps endurance is not hard, in every hour it has to last. Perhaps some parts of staying whole are made of softness holding fast. Green can live in hidden places, so can hope, so can I. Moss on the wall, small green answers show me how to grow like that. Close to stone, close to weather, still becoming, still intact. I have wanted brighter openings, larger signs to lead me through. Moss on the wall, small green answer, teach me quiet life is true. Last night, low and near, low and bright, hidden color still is light. Moss on the wall, small green answer, now I see your patient art. You do not ask for open fields, you make a garden where you are. I have wanted brighter openings, now I trust a smaller view. Moss on the wall, small green answer, teach me quiet life is true. Stone after rain, green without noise. Begins to loosen gold. At 4 o'clock the offices breathe. People spill out with careful steps. A stack of folders, a loosened tie, a call half finished on the curb. The light gets lower near the tracks. The wind moves wrappers, hair and sleeves. It is the hour when winter fades, but evening still can bite a little. A woman laughs into her phone. A boy kicks stones along the wall. The city does not pause for me, yet still it offers something clear. A feeling in the moving air that says the heart is cold as past. Not gone, not far, not fully done, but softer now than yesterday. The wind at 4 o'clock reminds me change can come through ordinary streets. Between the errands and the traffic, something kind can still appear. I walk home with the day beside me. I let the cool air clear my chest. The wind at 4 o'clock reminds me March is learning how to bless. March is learning how to bless. The traffic light turns red then green. A train hums under evening glass. The flower seller wraps the stems in paper thin as faded skin. I smell warm oil from a food cart. I hear one chair scrape on the stone. The clouds break just enough to spill a little honey on the roofs. I used to miss these passing doors because I waited for a sign. Now I can take the smallest lift, the lightest shift across the hour. Every day hides one soft seam. Today I found it in the wind. The wind at 4 o'clock reminds me change can come through ordinary streets. Between the errands and the traffic, something something kind can still appear. I walk home with the day beside me. I let the cool air clear my chest. The wind at 4 o'clock reminds me March is learning how to bless. Street light near sunset, then let the evening open in. Street light near sunset, then carry calm beneath the skin. The wind at 4 o'clock reminds me healing does not leave the world. It walks among the bags and buses, rests on shoulders, lifts through cloth. I walk home with the day beside me. The chill is there but less than then. The wind at 4 o'clock reminds me March is learning how to bless. March is learning how. Hour turns gold. I turn with it. You did it too. Do did it too. Do did it too. Across the lane, from line to line, small paper lamps begin to shine. Not festival bright, not summer loud, just tender marks above the street. A noodle shop exhales its steam. 2 students linger by the door. The signs reflect in puddled stone like folded stars near people's feet. I stand beneath those hanging lights and feel the day unwind its grip. There is a softness after work that almost feels like being known. The sky is pale and nearly ash, but still the paper colors glow. What is fragile can still hold more warmth than walls of heavier things. Paper flags of light above me sway a little in the dusk. Teach my heart that gentle brightness does not need a grander shape. I have leaned on stronger structures, still these tender colors stay. Paper flags of light above me make the evening feel like home. Scooter stops, then starts again. A spoon taps softly on a bowl. The air is cool with garlic rain and the last breath of fading day. A child points up and names the shades. The mother smiles and tucks his hat. I think of every part of me that made it through by staying thin. Not weak, not lost, just light enough to move when heavier things could not. Perhaps survival has its own delicate and faithful art. There are nights that heal the soul with nothing more than hanging light. Paper flags of light above me sway a little in the dusk. Teach my heart that gentle brightness does not need a grander shape. I have leaned on stronger structures, still these tender colors stay. Paper flags of light above me make the evening feel like home. Lift and glow, drift and bend, soft things also hold in me. Paper flags of light above me. Now I know why I looked up Not for answers, not for rescue, just for beauty close at hand. I have leaned on stronger structures. Tonight I trust a lighter grace. Paper flags of light above me make the evening feel like home. They sway in air, my thoughts grow still.
The park is split between two seasons.
One side holds the winter shade, the other keeps a thinner gold. A bench is dry, the next one wet. A tree stands bare beside new grass. The pond is dark except one edge, where ducks disturb the mirrored sky. A child runs through a stripe of light and disappears in colder green. I love this park for telling truth. Change is not a single field. It comes in sections, comes in bands, in mixed up hours and uneven ground. Some parts of me are waking now, some still need a little dark. I do not have to shame the shade, it also helped me make it here. Half the park in shadow, half in light. That is how March speaks to me. Not complete, not polished, not decided, still becoming beautifully. I can hold both rest and motion, I can keep both ache and ease. Half the park in shadow, half in light, and there is room enough for me. A man throws bread with careful hands, a woman reads with shoes kicked off. The wind moves once through early leaves that only one young tree has dared. Somewhere beyond the tennis fence, a whistle breaks then fades away. This ordinary mixed up scene feels wiser than a perfect spring. I used to think I had to choose between the past and what comes next. Now I can stand where both are true and let the hour hold them both. Not all healing leaves a line, sometimes it is shared terrain. Half the park in shadow, half in light. That is how March speaks to me. Not complete, not polished, not decided, still becoming beautifully. I can hold both rest and motion, I can keep both ache and ease. Half the park in shadow, half in light, and there is room enough for me. Shade and sun, side by side, both belong in changing time. Shade and sun, side by side, that is how the heart survives. Half the park in shadow, half in light, and I no longer need to choose. I can bless the colder corners while I face the tender blue. I can hold both rest and motion, I can keep both ache and ease. Half the park in shadow, half in light, and there is room enough for me. A divided field, a whole day. Something new rises through the old streets. ghost of yellow light has settled on the parked cars now. Not heavy, not yet full in bloom, just enough to mark the change. The roadside trees look almost plain, yet every branch carries a hint. The buses move, the shutters rise, and still the air feels lightly stirred. The road dust and the pollen meet, the city rough, the season mild. I like the way they share the day, one from work and one from growth. It feels like life in honest form, tired and tender at the same time. Maybe beauty enters best when it does not clear the scene. Dust of pollen, dust of rose, mixed together in the March breeze. Tell me I can still be healing in the middle of the noise. I do not need a clean horizon, I do not need a silent field. Dust of pollen, dust of rose, let me grow where I have lived. A mechanic wipes his oil black hands, a teacher waits beside the gate. A cart of oranges rolls slowly by, bright as small suns on metal wheels. The crosswalk hums with passing feet, the overhead lines cut the sky. Yet under all this daily weight, something fine keeps floating through. I used to think peace had to live far from traffic, far from work. Now I can feel a sweeter air inside the grid. I already know change can settle where we stand. Spring can lean on ordinary things. Dust of pollen, dust of rose, mixed together in the March breeze. Tell me I can still be healing in the middle of the noise. I do not need a clean horizon, I do not need a silent field. Dust of pollen, dust of rose, let me grow where I have lived. Road and bloom, side by side, harsh and soft can both survive. Road and bloom, side by side, life arrives in common light. Dust of pollen, dust of rose, now I hear your blended truth. I can change without escape, and I can heal inside my root. I do not need a clean horizon, I can trust this moving field. Dust of pollen, dust of rose, let me grow where I have lived. Turns cool, the street stays real. Cool city murmur, the season enters by your hands with you. Today the window's open just enough to let the curtain breathe. No summer rush, no bright command, just moving cloth and lighter hair. The room still keeps its winter cup, its folded blanket, shaded lamp. But outside someone tunes a bike and sparrows argue on the wire. The smell of soap from lower floors, the far-off call of evening bread, the hum of traffic under all make one soft city chord. I stand between the room and street and feel my thoughts unbutton slowly. There are doors that do not swing, they only ease into new weather. Windows left a little open, that is all I need tonight. Just enough to let March enter, just enough to change the room. I have feared the sudden turning, I can trust a smaller shift. Windows left a little open and my heart learns how to breathe. The table holds a bowl of pears, the sink reflects the fading sun. A page lifts softly in a book I meant to read through. Winter night, somewhere a radio plays low, a song too warm to fully hear. The evening does not ask for more, it simply leans its coolness in. I used to shut the seasons out until I felt prepared to change. Now I can welcome half a breeze and let it do the patient work. Not every opening is wide, still it can alter everything. Windows left a little open, that is all I need tonight. Just enough to let March enter, just enough to change the room. I have feared the sudden turning, I can trust a smaller shift. Windows left a little open and my heart learns how to breathe. Curtain moves, cooler stays, small openings can change our days. Curtain moves, cooler stays, quiet change has tender ways. Windows left a little open, now the room feels less alone. Not because the world is warmer, but because it came in close. I have feared the sudden turning, now I trust a smaller gift. Windows left a little open and my heart learns how to breathe. The curtain lifts, night comes kind. The flowers are here, but not yet open. In the florist bucket by the glass, tulips stand with heads still closed, wrapped in paper, tied in twine. They keep their colors close for now. Pink, cream, yellow, deepest red, all waiting in the cooler light. The shop is warm, the street is wet, a bell rings softly at the door. I love them most in this first state, not because they hide their bloom, but because they hold becoming, like a breath before a song. March knows this shape of beauty well, promise folded into form. Not open yet still fully true, that is a comfort to me now. Tulips still tied shut in paper, teach me how to wait with grace. Not unfinished and not lacking, just arriving in good time. I have rushed my own unfolding, you stand quiet in your color. Tulips still tied shut in paper, let me trust the slower bloom. A woman chooses 3 and smiles. The clerk wraps stems in silver string. Outside the buses drag damp light along the early evening curb. Nothing here demands a show, The flowers do not force their shape, they simply keep their inward fire until the room and hour right. I think of all the tender parts I'd judge for not yet being wide, when maybe they were only waiting, gathering strength and folded light. Becoming has its own beauty, closed hands may still hold. Tulips still tied shut in paper, teach me how to wait with grace. Not unfinished and not lacking, just arriving in good time. I have rushed my own unfolding, you stand quiet in your color. Tulips still tied shut in paper, let me trust the slower bloom. Folded light, hidden flame, not yet open, still becoming. Folded light, hidden flame, spring can wait in still lane. Tulips still tied shut in paper, now I love your patient art. Not all beauty opens early, not all hope must show its face. I have rushed my own unfolding, now I trust the slower bloom. Tulips still tied shut in paper, let me trust the slower bloom. The paper rustles, the color stays. Light has climbed only partway up in the stairwell of the older flats. The sun has reached just 3 warm steps above them, shadow below them dim, between them one bright patch of gold. A broom leans by the mailboxes, someone left shoes outside a door. The walls keep marks from years of hands, the railing cools beneath my palm, and still those 3 bright steps at noon feel like a lesson made for March. That warmth does not need every floor to begin its quiet work. It touches one place then another, as if teaching the dark to wait. A little sun can change the whole without covering it at once. 3 steps of sun in the stairwell, that is how I learned to heal. Not the whole house, not every level, just enough to move me upward. I have asked for total brightness, now I trust this measured goal. 3 steps of sun in the stairwell, show me how change climbs. A child runs down and leaves a laugh. A door clicks shut on the 2nd floor. From somewhere ice begins to steam. A radio hums behind a wall. The building keeps its weekday face, yet nothing feels entirely closed. I think of how the inner rooms open one by one, not all at once. A memory softens, sleep returns, one fear grows smaller in the chest. This too is spring, this stepwise light, this ordinary rise of warmth. I do not need the roof made bright to trust the sun has entered. 3 steps of sun in the stairwell, that is how I learned to heal. 3 steps of sun in the stairwell, that is how I learned to heal. Not the whole house, not every level, just enough to move me upward. I have asked for total brightness, now I trust this measured goal. 3 steps of sun in the stairwell, show me how change climbs. Step by step, gold moves in, that is how the dark grows. steps of sun in the stairwell. Now I know why I stood there still. Not because the hall was lovely, but because the light was true. I have asked for total brightness. Now I trust this measured gold. 3 steps of sun in the stairwell. Show me how change climbs. One floor, one beam, and the steady rhythm. Bright shape moves through the rain. The day is almost made of ash. Buildings blur against the mist. A traffic sign shines faintly red. The gutters speak in silver streams. And down the block a green umbrella cuts through all the quiet gray. Not loud enough to own the street, just bright enough to shift the view. A woman walks beneath it slow, holding flowers wrapped in white. The rain keeps falling as before, but now the whole road feels awake. How little color it can take to alter what the spirit sees. One clear note can change the chord. One small hue can warm the frame. Gray sky, green umbrella, stay a moment in my mind. Show me how a single kindness can revise a weary day. I have waited for whole seasons to prove the dark is losing ground. Gray sky, green umbrella, you are enough to start. Crosswalk clicks, a taxi turns, a man pulls down the cafe awning. Rain dots gather on my sleeve and slide like little moving glass. The flower paper shines with drops. The woman disappears uphill. Still the color keeps its place inside the room behind my ribs. I think of all the times relief arrived in forms too small to praise. A seat offered, a lamp left on, a message sent at evening's edge. This bright umbrella joins that line, a modest mercy passing through. Hope is often just one shade, appearing where none should be. Gray sky, green umbrella, stay a moment in my mind. Show me how a single kindness can revise a weary day. I've waited for whole seasons to prove the dark is losing ground. Gray sky, green umbrella, you are enough to start. color stays.
Early garden rain.
The ground has a voice again. All winter long the earth was sealed, hard as a thought I could not reach. Now rain has darkened every bed. A spade leans near the wooden shed. The smell rises rich and low, deeper than leaf, warmer than bark. It fills the path between the rows and turns the whole yard into memory. A robin lands and tilts its head. A glove lies open on the bench. No flower breaks the surface yet, but everything below is busy. I close my eyes and breathe it in, the soundless labor of return. Life begins before the bloom. It begins where roots can hear. The sound of soul returning is not heard by ears alone. It moves the breath through older longing, through the places winter touch. I have lived on harder ground. Now something under me turns kind. The sound of soil returning calls my quiet heart awake. A watering can taps the stone. Rain slips slowly from the eaves. The garden fence is rough and pale, still holding back the colder months. Beyond it, bicycles go by. Somewhere a radio drifts thin. Yet here the richest thing is this, the darkened earth that takes the rain. I think of every buried part that asks for time instead of force. Perhaps the soul is more like soil than like a clock or a sharpened blade. It needs the thaw, the patient wet, the room to soften and receive. Not all turning can be seen, still the whole ground feels it first. The sound of soil returning is not heard by ears alone. It moves through breath, through older longing, through the places winter touched. I have lived on harder ground. Now something under me turns kind. The sound of soil returning calls my quiet heart awake. Rain goes down, roots reply. Hidden work is still alive. Rain goes down, roots reply. Life begins below the eye. The sound of soil returning teaches me a faithful pace. Not with hurry, not with splendor, but with depth and dark and rain. I have lived on harder ground. Now something under me turns kind. The sound of soil returning calls my quiet heart awake. The earth drinks slow. I breathe with it. La, 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 la. The street is dim except one window. The bakery keeps a golden square against against the cooling March dusk. Inside the shelves are half gone bare. A worker folds the final bags. The glass is misted near the base. The sign hums low above the door. Each time it opens, warmth comes out with sugar, yeast, and something kind. I stop as if I heard my name in a language made of home. No memory sharp enough to wound, just comfort with a living face. A loaf is lifted, wrapped and passed. The air itself seems fed by this. There are places where the soul believes in goodness right away. A corner of warm bread in evening, that is where my heart grows still. Not because the world is easy, but because small care is real. Hands can shape what feeds another. Light can gather at a door. A corner of warm bread in evening makes me trust this life once more. Two students split a paper bag and laugh with crumbs upon their coats. A cyclist leans his bike outside and rubs the cold back from his hands. The clouds are low, the road is dark. The buses drag their amber lines, yet here the human scale returns. A loaf, a smile, a closing hour. I think of how the spirit heals through things that pass from hand to hand. Not abstract hope, but needed warmth, something made and meant to share. Maybe grace has flour on it, maybe mercy smells like yeast. A corner of warm bread in evening, that is where my heart grows still. Not because the world is easy, but because small care is real. Hands can shape what feeds another. Light can gather at a door. A corner of warm bread in evening makes me trust this life once more. Oven glow, winter thin. Warmth can start where work has been. Oven glow, winter thin. Simple gifts can gather in a corner of warm bread in evening. Now I know why I remain. Not for answers, not for rescue, but to feel the human flame. Hands can shape what feeds another. That is more than words can prove. A corner of warm bread in evening makes me trust this life once more. The door swings shut, the warmth stays near. Last light, first green. Save my season in a gentle voice. March does not enter crown with bloom. It comes with cuffs still brushed by cold. Its hands smell faintly of wet bark. Its shoes are marked with city rain. It carries cloud, a thread of sun, a pocket full of loosened seeds. It leaves one window cracked with air, one branch uncertain but alive. It asks for little from the world, only room to shift the tone. A slower buzz, a softer coat, a later dusk, a clearer stream. I know this month because it moves the way some healing learns to speak. Not too loud, not all at once, just enough to change the room. March spoken softly, stay with me, walk beside my quieter heart. Show me how to leave the winter without leaving what it taught. I do not need a bright beginning, I can try tender start. March spoken softly, stay with me, walk beside my quieter heart. I have seen the hard months hold their gray hand over street and soul. I have learned the patient art of making warmth from little things. Now here you are with dampened wind, with market steam and greener moss, with rain on glass and thinner coats, with bread-lit doors and river thaw. You gather all these modest signs into one unfinished hymn, and somehow in your lighter touch I hear permission to begin. What returns need not be grand, it only needs to come in true. March spoken softly, stay with me, walk beside my quieter heart. Show me how to leave the winter without leaving what it taught. I do not need a bright beginning, I can trust a tender start. March spoken softly, stay with me, walk beside my quieter heart. Softly said, softly done, spring begins in lower tone. Softly said, softly done, life returns in whispered form. March spoken softly, now I know why I waited through the cold. Not for spectacle or rescue, but for gentleness to hold. I do not need a bright beginning, I can trust a tender start. March spoken softly, stay with me, walk beside my quieter heart. Say it once more.